organizational meeting. Mr. DeMarco, can you call the roll, please, for the organizational meeting?
Hartley,
Yes, present.
Mrs. Sinners, Mr. Jones.
Here.
Dr. LeFay, Mrs. Mack.
Alright, we're gonna skip item B since we said the Pledge of Allegiance at our tax budget hearing. We're gonna move to item number 2, which is the election of officers. And I will now open the floor for nominations for president. I will start. I would like to nominate Mr. John Jones for president of the Board of Education.
I'd like to nominate Jody Mass. I wasn't sure how we do this, if we do 3 seconds.
And I'm honored that you would nominate me for president. I feel that I need to decline the nomination just because I am starting a new job, which is going to be full-time, probably in February. I feel I would not do the position justice the way I feel like I've been able to do this past year. But I'm very honored. But I will decline that nomination if possible.
Second nomination?
We do. We need to second a nomination for John. We don't? We just vote? Okay. Okay. Well then we will close. We need a motion to close the nomination. Okay, let's make a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
I'll second. And then we will vote for president. We can start with Dr. LeFay.
You have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
Mrs. Mass,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Dr. LeFay.
We will now vote for president. Dr. LeFay. Mrs. Hartley.
Mr. Jones.
I vote for Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones? Okay. All right. Now, do we need to have a motion to accept that vote?
It's not on the agenda.
Okay. All right. So now, if Mr. DeMarco, you could present the oath of office for Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I think you and he should.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as members of the Board of Education of the Huron City School District, County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
Congratulations.
Come on over.
Oh.
I have to sit next to you.
Yeah, I got it good, so. There isn't one. Yeah, that's good. No, that's me.
So moved.
I'm gonna move. Oh, yeah, I'll move over. You can move over here.
So sad the whole time I've been.
It's so funny. Hey. All right. While we are in the process of moving here, we can open up the floor for nominations for vice president.
I nominate Jody Mass for vice president.
Okay. Alrighty. Any other nominations for vice president? I think we're good. We need a motion to close the nominations for vice president.
Aye.
Yes.
Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. All right. Like to vote for Mrs. Mann? Vote for
Mrs. Mass?
So.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as members of the Board of Education of the Huron City School District, Erie County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. You do. You are up.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank Mrs. Mask for a great year of leadership and for keeping everybody together during some trying times, helping us work together to bring some outstanding leaders, and I only hope I can follow up doing the same type of job. Welcome your help, input, criticism, and time.
I'm sure you would be absolutely. Do a great job.
Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Okay, and thank you for the vote of confidence. Okay, so let me see. The next thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Organizational meeting agenda. Mr. Marco.
We need a motion.
Sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Dr. LeFay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes. Thanks. Item 5, superintendent recommendations.
Yep.
Salmon.
For the organizational meeting, the first one is the list of meetings for this calendar year. January 9th is listed there. And then just to note, January 31st and February 21st, those are Tuesdays. The January 31st is a work session where Terry Morgan is going to come and talk with us about leadership. But all the other dates are on Monday. So we've talked about moving it to Monday. It's a less busy day of the week as far as extracurricular activities and other commitments. So that works. February has to be Tuesday because that February 20th is a holiday. Next are the treasurer authorizations. All of those carried over from the previous year, with the exception of the last one, permission to conduct public opening and reading of bids. So that was one that, looking at other districts, authorizations for treasurers, that was one that was listed, and thought with potential bids coming both with track and other projects we see on the horizon, that would expedite that process.
Question, I have to wait till the end. This is simple, but approved workbook prices, I didn't remember that from last year. I'm not sure that I know. I'm sure it's something really simple. I just wanted to understand it. Workbook prices, what is
It's an old one.
So that was last year. I would say that probably just carried over from the year because we don't really work with that.
textbook kind of thing? Okay.
Handwriting, basic journals, and
Okay.
things that they take.
That's what I assumed, but I didn't want to assume. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marianne.
Item C is authorization for superintendent, and letter D. This is a new one based on some review of other organizational meeting agendas. It's a practice we've been doing, but this just confirms that we can continue to do it. As far as dispensing the actual reading of the minutes, provided that copies are provided. Establishment of the Records Commission, that's a continuation. OSBA annual membership, so that is the school board for Huron City Schools being members of that. OSBA's legal assistance fund, again, that's an annual action we take. Establishment of a service fund, this is the board service fund for activities that the board, recognitions and things like that, as well as professional developments that board members might attend. That's a carryover from last year. Authorization for purchase of performance bonds, that's a carryover. Civil Rights Act of 1965, so just recognition that we continue to comply with that. Official newspaper, this is another one that's from other agendas and new, so it's just recognizing that Sandusky Registry is our official newspaper. So we don't. So when we have, bid postings and those types of things, that's where people can find our official notices. Authorization to engage legal counsel. The first two are continuation from last year. Weston Hurd is a third new one. There are times where, depending on the specialty of the item and the firm, there's times that they might have benefit to provide service to the district. And then we get to appointment of the board OSBA liaison.
So James, can you just expound on the Western Herd just a little bit? You had communicated to me that the reason you really liked them was the special education piece.
Yeah, so they have, they just expanded their educational department or division. And I have experience working with one attorney from there who focuses on special education law. We currently don't have a need for that, but if the need were to arise, I'd be more comfortable working with that person than one we have in the past.
Thank you.
Yep. So this would be appointment of board liaison, and then the last item is approval of board liaison appointment and board committee. So both M and N we have to have a little discussion about, and on the bottom of N it lists what the 2022 board assignments were. So to proceed, is there, Jody, do you just seek who's interested in?
Yeah, as far as the legislative representative, it's really what board member is interested in being that representative. I believe that Mr. Jones has done that in the past. I'm sorry?
Yes. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No, I appreciate that because I'm probably going to make a mistake.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Jones, OSBA liaison, how would you like to select that person?
Mrs. Vance is correct. I have been the one. I'd be, if someone else is interested, I think they heard at dinner some of my comments about this particular session this year. It is a very interesting thing. It can be lengthy, but it is like the meat of what's going on. So it just depends on how much involvement that you have taken upon yourselves. Said I'm not married to it. I guess that's the way to put it. I'll be happy to do it again.
Yeah,
But
I'm not interested, so I'm thrilled that you.
I always get the ones that everybody's really thrilled that I'm.
No, you do a fine job. Yeah. It's
Well,
important.
I do appreciate that, and I do enjoy it. So.
We could be really, really mean and have Stacy Henderson do it since she's not here.
I nominate Stacy. No.
So then, for N, you identify those same processes.
Yes.
Just to note, the Hovey Career Center board member, that is a 2-year, so Mr. Jones is entering the second of a 2-year. I double checked and sent me the minutes. So that one's already set, but the others, and also with the others, I know it's been discussed, could some be combined or could some be dissolved? Some of these committees maybe didn't meet because we had other pressing issues happening that those topics didn't come up. So I guess that's open for discussion. So, one thought was, yeah, we could table it. The other would be you appoint someone and then we continue to figure out how it's going to play out.
My suggestion would be that if you were willing to remain that, you could put your name up where somebody else wants to get involved. If we get that, or maybe worst case scenario, maybe we're a non-voting member, so that we at least kind of know what's going on. But that's my suggestion.
I'm willing to continue to go to the meetings.
Anybody have a problem with that concept? Okay, we can do that. What a great idea. Hear my little voice over here?
This is a
Like
suggestion.
the Hall of Fame. After this, oh, I'm sorry.
I don't honestly think that we need a representative on the Hall of Fame. I found it to be superfluous, to be honest. So I honestly think that we can dissolve that and maybe just have Steve give us information prior to, unless anyone's uncomfortable with that, or Steve might have something to say about it.
Well, perhaps if they want us input, it could be the same person that we should have that. Or we can, if they do ask us, we can come up with somebody then.
Because that is the athletic qualification.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, alignment with boosters, athletic boosters.
So we're gonna scratch that one.
I would be interested in the facilities committee this year, if either Stacy would be, willing to do it.
So how do we do that? Three members too.
There can only be two. But, I mean, at the actual meeting.
Do you want to remain in facilities? I guess is the question now. Is it something we can discuss when all five of us are here? Is it something that has to be?
They would.
Feel more comfortable doing that? I think discussion tonight.
Was there anything else that, I mean, I guess, I don't know what Stacy was thinking, or if she made anybody aware of her thoughts prior to the meeting.
Oh, no, I didn't hear anything prior to the meeting.
I don't know how anybody else feels, maybe with all five of us here, it would be better, just so that we could keep things as is in the meantime, and just keep it on the agenda for next time.
That would be my thought. Outside of the OSBA student liaison, that has to be.
That's not the same as the legislative?
It is not. But as you see at the bottom, last year I was both of them. Don't have to continue doing that. It's not a. I don't really quite understand the entire purpose of it, quite frankly.
The entire purpose of what?
The student liaison.
Well, I think, isn't the student liaison, if we have a student that wants to present a poster or present something at OSBA, isn't that what that?
That would be one task that that board member does, is help organize, recruit a performance group or student. Yeah.
Something we want to share, them off.
And yeah, when she comes for work session, we could get a better explanation for that, maybe?
So again, we can table this part of item N. So is that all right with it? So we want to, we still have to ask for approval of A through N?
Well, so
agenda?
table it or just keep the assignments as they are for 2022 until we can meet, only for this month, basically.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through N, leaving 2022 positions as they currently are until the next meeting.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. DeMarco? No problem. I understand.
So Matt, Hartley,
Yes.
Dr. LeFay, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. That passed. Item 6, the fiscal year 24 tax budget. Mr. DeMarco? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Oh, wait a minute. He's not gonna, okay. He's not gonna present it, or the present,
Well, the hearing was
with the
Here.
okay.
presented.
Gotcha. All right. So I need a motion to approve, thank you, the fiscal year 24 tax budget.
So moved. I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. DeMarco?
Hartley,
Yes.
Mass,
Yes.
Dr. LeFay, Mr. Jones.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And now I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Hartley,
Yes.
Mass,
Yes.
LeFay,
Yep.
Mr.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I know some other people came in. If you're wishing to talk in front of the board, we do ask that you complete. There's some document on the side table. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I did. Okay. Thank you. Okay. No. Call the regular meeting for January 9th to order. Mr. Martin, would you call roll, please?
Ms. Hartley,
Present.
Centers, Dr. LeFay,
Here.
Mrs. Mass,
Here.
and Mr. Jones.
Here. And as we mentioned, the Pledge of Allegiance was done during our first meeting of the evening. So here, I dispense with that. The next, we need approval of the regular meeting agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
And a second?
Mr. Marco?
Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
Mrs. Mass,
Yes.
Dr. LeFay, Mr. Jones.
Yes. Next is item 3, approval of minutes from the December 20th, 2022 regular meeting. Need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved?
Mr. DeMarco?
Mrs. Mass,
Yes.
Dr. LeFay, Mrs. Hartley,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Done. Do we call them to talk?
Item 4 is audience community participation. Just want to remind everyone that you're addressing the board. I'm sorry, this is new to me too. You are allotted 5 minutes each. We have a total of 30 minutes scheduled on the agenda for this purpose. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board and be placed on the regular agenda. I doesn't say this on here, but this is for you to pass on information to us. It is not a discussion period. I will tell you if the response is necessary, someone will get back to you. The appropriate person will respond to you at a later date. Okay? Okay. Thank you. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of majority of the board. President vote. Thank you. Still need help. So appreciate that. So I am going to ask Mr. Grantham Brown if he would come forward. Thank you again.
Sorry. If the speakers can use the mic, because there's the streaming that we have an audience. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Grantham Brown. I am a senior at Heron High School. I am very involved both academically and athletically. I'm also the athlete rep for my USA swimming team. To start off, I have finished all 4 years of every high school sport I have ever competed in, freshman year all the way through senior year. I'm a big believer that every individual during and outside of competition is representing the school's reputation. I put in many hours of additional training on top of my high school swimming, training every week. I qualified for state as an individual last year, as a year-round member of Vacation Home Swim Club and Huron Swim. I have swam in many facilities throughout the state of Ohio. I have never had to use any inhaler until swimming at Danbury this past season. I've witnessed many of my teammates struggling with the air quality issue. The other issue is I struggle with skin irritation when I am in Danbury's pool. Unfortunately, I am having to write this and express this, as we all know that my season and my persona have been threatened to be brought to an end. My friends and teammates know why I and many others have no longer been in attendance to practices held at the Danbury Aquatic Facility. We have felt as though our physical well-being was being put at risk due to the effects of the air quality. Since leaving the facility, we have remained practicing and continue to improve as swimmers. We recently received what would be defined as a demand, not a request, to return back to Danbury Aquatic Facility, with the threat of being removed from the team altogether, as well as not being able to attend and represent Huron High School for any further swim meets. Another incident that took place was there was a meet being held at the Danbury Aquatic Facility this past weekend, and Coach Lear wanted to do a senior night for the 5 senior boys on the Huron High School swim team. Weeks prior to the meet, a request was made to Coach Lear to move senior night back to the basketball game, like done in years past. We were denied the request and came to the day of the meet. Three other seniors were unable to attend due to timing and not wanting to put our health at risk, being at the Danbury Aquatic Facility. We had less than a day's notice that it would even be senior night. I heard from my teammates after the arrival of the team and Coach Lear to Danbury that Coach Lear pulled out a ladder, removed my senior banner, as well as the banner of one of my teammates, Jared Lenzik, who also swims at another facility with me due to health concerns at Danbury. When my teammates and others saw this action occur, many thought we had been removed from the swim team. Many rumors arose that we had quit or that we were no longer going to be representing Huron High School. Upon learning of these thoughts and rumors, I was appalled and furious to think that thousands of hours that I have put into training over the last 10 years I've been swimming, to have my reputation and persona put at risk in front of all those who had witnessed and heard rumors about Coach Lear's actions. I'm here trying to show that I am a Huron Tiger and I represent my team and the school as best as I can. I'm here to state my side and make it known that I have done nothing but follow the rules and contribute to my team and efforts to the swim team, and explain what has happened to me as a result of ongoing investigations at Danbury Aquatic Facility. Many of us fear having to go back to Danbury, and Coach Lear's relation towards us could be. Thank you for allowing me to speak in front of you all tonight. Thank you for allowing us to continue to swim elsewhere for the time being. I still fear my teammates left at Danbury and their health. I hope this issue will be resolved, and thankful for the parents stepping in to advocate for all of us. Thank you.
Jared Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Jared Lenzik, a senior student at Huron High School. I've been on the Huron swim team since the 7th grade. Since my time on the team, the air quality at Danbury has always been bad. However, this year it's been worse due to us having to close the doors and windows at the facility. It was like a new rule, so we had to do that. To combat this air issue, I've been training at Perkins High School with my club swim team. I've been having an excellent season and have dropped a lot of time. Although I'm not practicing with my high school team, I still get along extremely well with the team. This season has been great, and I hope that nothing changes to stop me from practicing with my club team. I also hope that changes occur at Danbury to fix the air issue that's there, as I've witnessed multiple of myself and multiple of my teammates coughing at practice and having trouble breathing. So I just hope that a solution comes and that the air issue at the Danbury Aquatic Facility is fixed, so that in future swim seasons we can practice there, or if we can practice at another place, another facility with better air. I just hope that this air quality issue is fixed so we can have future great swim seasons. Thank you.
Joseph?
Hello, my name is Joey Lenzik. I was a Huron swimmer from 2019 to 2022. During that time, my experience at the Danbury facility was not positive. Many kids experienced coughing and shortness of breath caused by the poor air quality at Danbury. In particular, there was an incident during the 2019 season, my freshman year, where we had to all evacuate the pool and go out into the hall until the coughing and other irritations subsided. To my knowledge, nothing was done about that, and since then, it has not changed. I actually got in contact with some of my old friends and peers about it, and they say that they remember this experience as well. I'm also a collegiate swimmer and diver now at Ashland University, and I've been to other states and to multiple other facilities, and no other facility has been as poor air quality as Danbury has in my experience. I appreciate all of your time and attention. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Excuse me. I emailed every board member already with my concerns, and rather than rehash what I've already sent to you, I want to use this opportunity to tell the board a little bit more about myself. I graduated from Ohio State with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering, and I worked as a chemical engineer for around 6 years. I performed troubleshooting in chemical plants and refineries throughout the world, and my primary job was to assess mechanical equipment and diagnose problems. And I forgot to add it in here, but I also wanted to add that I'm a lifelong swimmer. I started competitively swimming when I was 6 years old. Like my sons, I've been in swim facilities in Louisiana, Kentucky, Australia, here in Ohio, all over the world. After years as a chemical engineer, I then went to law school, and upon graduating and passing the bar, I worked as a patent attorney for several years. As such, I had to quickly comprehend complex inventions from some brilliant inventors. It also required massive research into the latest technological developments. However, approximately 10 years ago, I found my calling as an educator. I am a math and science teacher, and although it is not as financially lucrative as my former careers, it is far more rewarding. Like every teacher I know, I teach because I want to help kids reach their fullest potential. I stress individual critical thinking and the importance of research and using facts and scientific data. I mention this because at some recent meetings and communications I've seen or heard, I've been attacked as having some sort of nefarious intentions for raising concerns about the air quality at the Danbury pool. So I want to be clear that I'm strictly motivated by what is best for the health and safety of our student athletes. I would not be an educator nor a coach, which 90% of the time is on a volunteer basis, if my number one priority were not for the kids. And further, everything I've done so far has been based in science. On that note, I want to share a few excerpts briefly from a CDC report that I included in my emails but didn't really highlight. It's just one example of the type of information I found with my extensive research that had striking parallels to the Danbury pool. And this occurred in the opening of Great Wolf Lodge Water Park in Cincinnati, Ohio, where they were having some concerns. And the quote from the CDC report was within 1 month, WCCHD, which is the health department, had received 79 reports of eye and respiratory irritation from patrons and employees. Symptoms include red, burning, or itchy eyes, itchy or runny nose, cough, wheezing, shortness of breath, chest tightness, sore throat. Initial tests revealed normal water chemistry and air fluorine concentrations. In February and March, management added additional air distribution outlets to the ventilation system, increased the frequency of water chemistry checks, and added more fresh water to all systems. However, WCCHD continued to receive health complaints, so they couldn't fix it. And this isn't a quote, but then the report went on to lifeguards at the park filling out questionnaires that they had surveys done. They showed that increased bather load worsened the symptoms experienced by lifeguards. So the more people in the pool, the worse it got, which makes sense logically. There's another quote: water chemistry tests at the water park met state standards. However, review of the ventilation and water system designs identified several areas of concern. Continuing the quote, but a little bit later, the ventilation system might not have provided sufficient air movement and distribution to guarantee adequate capture and removal of air contaminants, including trichloramine, at the pool surface and deck levels. Concerns also included the high placement of air supply and return ducts. And just for reference, when I've been looking at Danbury, both their supply and their return are both highest possible point on the wall. Subsequently, this is another quote. Subsequently, substantial ventilation system modifications were made by repositioning air supply and return ducts closer to the pool deck. So essentially, this is not a quote. The facility redesigned the ventilation system and solved the problem. As an engineer and science teacher, this makes perfect sense to me, and it makes sense to have a mandatory design specialist evaluate the Danbury pool. It would ensure the health and safety of the swimmers that use the pool, and it is illogical to me to not want to do so. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to rattle off a bunch of dates in here, but I'm going to give you this when I'm done so you can reference back to it. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to further advocate for several concerned families of members of the Huron swim team. You have all the information you need to make a decision that should have been made a long time ago. Jack Lenzik, Chuck Dieter, Scott Porterfield, myself, and many others have feverishly tried to convince the administration of a known problem to no real resolution. Please note my email of November 28th, where I asked if the known air quality concerns at Danbury Pool were considered when entering into a 3-year contract. There was no response. Please note Dr. Tatman's email, where he states that he was not informed of previous concerns by another parent in 2020. That would be lying by omission by Mr. Camella and Coach Lair. Please note the email from me on December 1st, where I state that in a captive audience meeting with the swim team, Coach Lair stated that the health department checked the water and air and everything was good. Some students felt that the mention of a parent reporting the concern was done to intimidate others from speaking up. The health department did not test the air. That would be a misleading statement at best. The water, although tested good on the day of inspection, when the swim team was not present, was either not tested on previous days or tested bad on a day when our swimmers were in the water. Therefore, that was a lie. Several questions posed in December 1, 2022 email have also not been answered. Please note my email of December 5th, 2022, when I informed Dr. Tatman of a meeting at my home with 7 concerned families, with 2 additional not able to attend. It was in this meeting that I first learned of the emergency squad being called to Danbury for a swimmer. This incident was not reported to the school. It was also noted in the survey. On December 5th, I received information from my records request. It was the same emails that I already had from Mr. Dieter. What was missing, as requested in my November 28th email, was an explanation of how the issue was resolved. Apparently, Mr. Camella and Coach Lair think that sharing the information with the aquatic director of Danbury is proper resolution. There also is not any proof that they did that, provided in the record. On December 8th, I emailed a questionnaire to both Dr. Tatman and Superintendent Danbury to be completed. It had questions going back 4 years about issues at Danbury Pool with indoor air quality. Neither administration has responded to that questionnaire. My email on December 8th states that now 10 families affecting 13 swimmers have contacted me with concerns about indoor air quality at Danbury Pool. On December 9th, Dr. Tatman sent a limited 1-question survey through final forms. I believe the statement that one parent had contacted him was misleading at best. From 2 previous emails, he knew that 7 families had met at my house and 10 families affecting 13 swimmers had shown concern. That survey, although limited in scope and misleading in its presentation, resulted in 19 of 25 respondents claiming some chloramine toxicity symptoms. And now we have Coach Lair and this administration demanding that swimmers return to the Danbury pool as guinea pigs or removed from competition and the team. No significant changes have been made at Danbury Pool. The addition of fans is a Band-Aid on a sucking chest wound. Ensuring proper water testing should have been a given, especially after concerns were raised for several years. This demand was rescinded today. Coach Lair, in another captive audience setting last week, told swimmers that he was having no symptoms and therefore everything was fine. Had he done even a limited amount of research on this issue, he would know that all people are affected by chloramine, that all people are not affected by chloramines, and that because they are heavier than air, his breathing 5 feet above the pool is irrelevant to what the swimmer is experiencing in the water. There's a lot more detail on all of these issues. My bottom line today, rescind the illegally crafted new policy that forces swimmers, some who are now on inhalers for the first time in their life, to return to Danbury Pool in violation of guidelines set out in the student handbook. I do not believe these policies were implemented in good faith and that they were just another form of ongoing intimidation and bullying of those who don't toe the line. As previously stated in past emails, if we can agree there are chloramines in every pool, if we can, based on past history and the survey, agree that Danbury Pool has an air quality issue, then can we agree to have a qualified natatorium ventilation inspector check out the Danbury facility? One last thing. Yesterday at my home, I listened to a mother describe to me her son being bullied.
One last thing, yesterday at my home, I listened to a mother describe to me her son being bullied by Coach Lear. I admire this young man. He told his mother he could take it. At least he was picking on him. He wasn't picking on somebody else. Please do your job.
Stay up there. Jody. Thank
you. My name is Jody Brown. I'm here today as not only a concerned mother, but for all our children, I'm the team liaison. And I want to talk to you about Safe Sport. It is something that we implement and are mandated through USA Swimming for each of our coaches. It is training to teach our coaches how to respect and not bully and not go outside of their boundaries, to have safe spaces for students to report any incident that's going on. I urge you to look at Safe Sport for all coaches, all teams. I urge you to have all coaches have school emails as forms of communication that are traceable and trackable. I urge you to have one form of communication across all teams, whether that be Remind or Team Reach for communication. If a coach or child needs to communicate through text messaging, I urge you to make it parent-child-coach. I do not support a coach talking to a child without a parent. I urge you to have a 2-tier leadership, that each team, regardless if it's 15 that was required for golf to have an assistant coach, have an assistant coach if there is still only 10 on a bowling team, a swim team. I urge you as a district to have better communications for parents. Thank you.
Party.
Good evening. As most of you know, my name is Dr. Martin Lesnack, and my daughter Samantha is a sophomore on the Huron swim team. She has complained about skin irritation as well as difficulty breathing at the Danbury pool. In fact, in early 2022, she had an episode at the practice that resulted in the EMS being called. And as a parent, when you're at work and you receive a call from a school stating that EMS has been called and what hospital do you want her to send her to if she needs to go to a hospital. That's the kind of call you don't want to receive. She had rapid breathing and a rapid heart rate that did not resolve with rest. Sam has been on a private swim club since the 4th grade and has been running on the cross country and track team since 7th grade. She has never had an issue with her breathing, except at the Danbury pool. At this time, we understand that both Huron and Danbury superintendents will not acknowledge that there may be an air quality issue at the pool. They have made that perfectly clear. However, it is now time to acknowledge that the safety of our kids should be the priority and that the concerns of parents now need to be addressed. I expect that as soon as these air quality issues were brought to the administration's attention that something would have been done. I expected that an alternative practice location would have been found in the interim. This did not happen. Without another alternative, parents chose to have their students practice elsewhere. This is not issues with the coach. This is not an issue with events or favoritism. This is just about having our kids practice in a safe environment. It is very upsetting to see the long history of complaints at this pool that have been ignored. It is upsetting that the coach is now punishing swimmers who have now been practicing at an alternate location. As a timer at swim meets, I have overheard the swimmers' conversations at times. A competitor asked once one of our swimmers, "Do you seriously practice here? I can't breathe." Now we have received a mandate. Even though no changes have been made to the Danbury pool, all swimmers are required to practice at that location. Again, I understand that the team should be all together, practicing as a team. However, shouldn't it be in a location that hasn't had a history of causing distress to our swimmers? If the team can't all practice together in an alternative location, please allow the parents to place their swimmers in a pool that they feel comfortable in. Thank you for your time.
You all, thanks for coming, thanks for sharing your thoughts. As I said earlier, I can assure you, you will hear back. It is being reviewed. So much. On item 5, administrative reports, Dr. McDonald.
Good evening. I have just a couple of things to update. It seems like we were just here late December, so not much time besides the holidays have passed. But I did want to talk a little bit about two things that are happening right now. Jody had mentioned at our last meeting as a report out for curriculum about our conservation science course that we'll be adding this next year. So with that, at the February meeting, the high school will have on the agenda the course selection guide for next year. The conservation science class will be included as other new classes will be presented as well. So it's very exciting. Mr. Lamb has been working with the high school staff and looking to add. Now, again, adding also based on enrollment as well, but different opportunities. So the history, culture, and social psychology of sports, career development, a class on the Civil War. That could be like 4 years long if we wanted it to. And then as we have the students here from Patty, Ryan, and Matt's class, the theme class, breaking that farther apart into more in-depth robotics and engineering. We have a number of students, and it continues to grow, who are focused on the engineering side, and we want to give them a broader scope in which to find their true passion within that course. So that will hopefully the enrollment will be strong enough to offer those courses. And we're also looking at a theater drama course and a music appreciation course. So we know we've lost electives over the years, and also wanting to keep our students on campus with our staff, providing these opportunities to a greater extent. So back to that conservation science, it is a project-based learning opportunity. It is geared for 11th and 12th grade students. The partners, I think we did talk about this last time, but just so you know, it was created just locally. It was actually created out of Fremont with ODNR. They started it as a club and turned it into a curriculum that went live in 2021. So it is based on the next generation science standards, which you also know is Ohio's state standards in science. So if you look between those two documents, there's a reason the next gen look really similar to Ohio standards. They used Ohio's blueprints for that. So the partners in the curriculum are ODNR, the Pennsylvania Game Commission, the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, and the Tennessee Wildlife Agency. So we will be looking at getting Mr. Holder trained, getting him some professional development this summer. It's offered 3 different times. So getting him scheduled to do that, but we're just excited. It offers a different experience to students. As you know, you need 3 science credits for graduation. We will be saying goodbye to our geology course. Not high interest, it served its purpose, but we're going to move away from it. And we're hoping with our proximity to our natural resources, the lake, the marsh, things like that, farming, there's hunting, there's fishing involved in this course. Not that we take them hunting, but just life skills too, to be quite frank. So I'm very excited by those opportunities. And as I said, the high school will be presenting that course selection guide in February, which is hard to say. It's hard to believe, I should say, that February is almost here and we're already talking really August. So you get through the holidays and it's a full-on sprint. But in Dr. Tapman's update, he had mentioned that the admin team before break did meet. I think we had our board meeting on Tuesday. We met on Thursday to talk about, basically, we will be master scheduling the district now that we're going to 3 buildings and what that looks like. So we had preliminary conversations to get a lot of big ideas on paper, if you will. Given today's events, we were supposed to have a touch base, but we're going to move that until Thursday. So we'll have more of an update then. But just the ideas and what people are coming up with, and hey, what about this? Or have you thought about this? What we have said, or I have said, common planning, right? The root of improvement is having our colleagues be able to work together. And, we've seen that in our Orton Gillingham and our younger ages and what they've been able to do. Katie Mishler pulled me aside today and said 2nd grade reading is looking pretty darn amazing. So I'm excited for that, but also giving the junior high and the high school an opportunity to also share in that professional collaboration with their teammates. So, and also changing the idea of the junior high and working on that middle school format, if you will. So that shared planning and collaboration time lends very well to that. So the principals are working hard. We're talking with Holly for special ed needs. We'll be talking gifted needs. But really, believe it or not, February, it's go time. The high school starts scheduling with NOWECA and BGSU, trying to make sure we're not bumping into their schedule. So it's a big push right now. So, and I'm very proud of the way everybody's working together and collaborating and challenging each other, quite frankly, like keeping the opportunities for students at the forefront. So any questions about that? I told Dr. Tapman I would try to keep it short this evening.
I just want to apologize for having your course for that news and my friends.
It's okay.
And
I
I'll drop
figured
it
you
off
were
to you.
highlighting it and putting sticky notes in it.
I was. It's fine.
I have a question, Julie. You mentioned music appreciation, and I think it was in the context of high school, but I had some parents mention about wondering, I think, about a possibility of that at the junior high or middle school level, because somebody said that it used to be, but now really the kids are really have to take like a performing arts.
That is correct. So we are looking at how the specials rotation could look at, I'll just say the middle school. So right now we do start that band exploration in 5th grade. So probably not going to continue that in 5th grade and have a general music course, which they really have that first semester in 5th grade. So in the current 7th and 8th grade model, the kids, it's forced choice. You can take band, you could take choir, you could take both. And so we are looking at a different non-performance or even an academic period for intervention up against those classes. But it's taking resources and dividing them against schedules. So we'll know more here in the next 4 to 6 weeks if that can be done. I know Dr. Chapman's looking to schedule a meeting with the music department for more detailed ideas as well. So thank you. Question?
Peter Marco?
Not since the last meeting, but the fiscal staff has completed all of our year-end calendar tasks. So W-2s, 1099s have all been issued. It's a pretty bulky and time-consuming task, as is the Affordable Care Act compliance report. Those all done, all submitted. Board pay for the last 6 months has been processed and on the way. Now that the tax budget's done, this is for, in our department, kind of the one lull we have during the year. So we're going to start working on some projects that we've been wanting to work on to help efficiency and to help other things. So even tomorrow, Troy, the owner of Strategic Solutions, is going to be in the building, and we're going to start on the form, flow, and contracts module, and save you from having to sign several thousand probably documents a year. And that's something that we'll just keep building, because anything that we do on paper we can put into this as form flow. And it helps everything. Not only are you reducing paper, but it saves time. You can't lose things by using this. So that's one example of these things that I want to do. We just haven't had the time to do. Along with that, organizing the packing and moving of buildings. We did have a mover basically come in. I walked him through the buildings. He's going to write up a proposal in a few different ways, and then from that, hopefully I have that by the end of the week, so we can pick and choose options and what's most cost effective. Because they can do 100% of it if you go to that level. Labels, packing boxes, like all that stuff. So hopefully he gets me that by the end of the week, so we can start looking into that. I'm also going to start looking at inventory management companies with all the moving we're going to do. The district used to use inventory management to keep track of materials, tech especially, and I'm going to start looking at, there's tons of companies that do this. Valuation engineers were the ones that the district used to use. I don't really know why they stopped. It's pretty typical for a district to use one, but with all the changes coming, I think it's a good idea to look at that. I'm also reviewing our property and casualty and cyber insurance policies. I've contacted Ohio School Plan in particular today about different options going into next year. And as far as audit and finance, we haven't met since the last meeting, but I'm scheduling a meeting at some point at the end of the month when we can squeeze it in. Some of the things we're going to go back and look at how to maximize the free and reduced lunch program, combined with, I've been looking at the Sandy Lunch Fund. We've had some very generous donations, and throughout the year that balance has grown. And I'm digging through and trying to see, there's money coming in and there's not much money going out. So I'm going to meet with Jennifer Johnson and the cashier, like the people that are in the lunchrooms every day, get some feedback on how we can maximize this. Because it's a good program, but it needs to be used. We're also, and this might take years with an S to complete, but we're going to look at the cost of our athletic programs, where we're going to start tracking all the expenses to teams, which is, it's a long process, but it's something we should do. I've talked with Steve a couple times. He knows, like, this is something he wants to do. We'll work on this probably over the summer, but to remap all the accounts and make sure next year all the expenses get charged to each team, because now they just kind of have some general budget lines that they just throw entry fees and all that stuff, but it's a better practice. Not that we're going to look at teams as revenue in and out or dollar value, but it's important to know how much athletics is costing. All right, and also if there are going to be changes to the joint rec district agreement, I think within audit and finance we should kind of look at the financial side of that, of what changes could come company. So that's a good topic for audit and finance. We might actually meet twice between now and the next board meeting. So that's all I have for my report.
First, I'd just like to say, that as Jody started the meeting, today was a difficult day for staff and students, and we lost someone that's part of our Huron family, and that impacted everyone across the district, really. So I first want to thank Julie for her quick action with calling the Erie County Crisis Support Team. They were on site here at Shawnee and at Woodlands, supporting our staff and students as they processed the information and worked through the day. And even there, at the end, they had that group was having a debrief, and they're coming back. So they recognize that young kids, when they first hear it, it might take them time to process and understand really what that means. So they're going to come back this week a couple more times, correct? Yep. And then also I want to thank Brian Crucible. Last night we got the information. We got the information late last night, and he still made the effort to call all of the parents of the classmates so that they had time to process and share with their student. So when the kids came in, the supports were ready for them wherever they were at on that continuum. So I thank them both for their leadership today. Okay. So moving on to happier news. Each year, Governor DeWine passes a resolution declaring January as School Board Recognition Month, and so he has done that again for 2023. So with our partners of OSBA, they provided a certificate of appreciation for each board member, and I have the resolution here, so I'm going to pass those out. But I just want to express my thanks to the board. I've been here since August, and all of you have supported my entry into the district, helped me navigate, learning the ropes, so to speak, and recognizing it's my first superintendency, so I am still learning and growing as well. And it's really, sometimes being a board member is a thankless job, so I thank you. And it's commitment, nights, weekends, listening to community members' concerns, listening to needs of parents, students, and staff, and then really setting the direction for the district with the leadership capacity that you exemplify. So I thank you for that. So I will pass these out. And then more important than the certificates, up here are envelopes, little thank you cards from students. So art class last week in kindergarten through 4th grade, some of the students wrote thank you cards, and it was funny. The art teacher was sharing, yeah, some of the students, I was trying to explain what a board member was, and they were a little confused. But we worked through it. We explained their leadership capacity, their leadership role. They're not the teacher. They're not the principal. They're, the district leaders. And so those were a little cute activity for the kids. Also, with the theme of board appreciation, is that last week OSBA reached out to me to note the progress that Mr. Jones has made with the STAR Award, the OSBA's leadership training program, the STAR Award. R is recognition. And so they said in order for him to get that recognition, there needs to be a board resolution recognizing him for his service. And so that is on the agenda, in the consent agenda. But I'd like to just read it just so that it's heard. Whereas John P. Jones, a board member of Huron City School District, has served the district with distinction, and whereas John P. Jones has dedicated his time for the betterment of students and the community, whereas John P. Jones has proven to be dedicated to the craft of board governance through his commitment to training, service, and governance skills, and whereas such measures have advanced student achievement in the district and improved the governance of the district, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of Huron City School District nominates John P. Jones for the Ohio School Board Association's Recognition Award. And so that will be on the consent agenda for action. Thank you, John, for your service. You have one more letter to go, they said. Pending board approval recognition. And then, not to get deep in the weeds, but I would just like to thank those who spoke tonight. The students did an excellent job exemplifying, and then the parents for showing your concern too. I'll continue to work with the parents, with the pool owner, and with our own administration to ensure that we are providing a safe venue for our students. It's a process and it takes time, and I appreciate you guys working with the district, understanding that it's a process, it's not an overnight solution. So thanks.
Item 6, treasurer recommendations. Mr. DeMarco.
First one is our monthly financial statements, and just a couple notes. I did print off a general fund report again, and it's not reflected in this report because this is December's, but last year in January is when the new funding formula was implemented. So not this one, but going forward, we'll have an apples to apples comparison. Eventually, it was kind of phased in over 3 or 4 months, but so this will provide more value comparing last year to this year. But if you look at some things, especially under expenses, our personnel costs are up between personnel and benefits. It's under 8% year over year, which is pretty good. 8% is kind of where you want to be under. So spending wise, we're doing well. If you look at fiscal 23 compared to fiscal 22 at the same point, we did dip into the red this month, and we will be again next month, and then it just depends on when we get our next tax settlement. But our revenue compared to expenses, we're doing roughly $500,000 better than last year. So, revenue, we are getting more revenue this year. Expenses are going to go up every year, but we're doing a good job as far as spending. I think I talked about that a little bit last month. We talked about the budget and things like that. So, general fund doesn't look good to see the negative number for spending, but that's temporary until we get our biggest single payment will be February, March, somewhere in there. So under financials, our investment income for the month was $17,545, which is good. Our cash balance continues to decline as we're spending money, and our actual revenue is going down. But in the next couple months, the Fed Reserve rate, the rates are probably going to peak at some point. So when we get to that point, and I am working with financial advisors where it looks like it's the high point, some of our cash reserves will be locked in for a little bit longer term than I have been. I've been keeping us pretty fluid, so I got a good feel of our cash cycle. So if we can lock in CDs or treasuries at 4 or 5%, and that's as good as it'll ever get. I don't think we'll ever see this again where interest rates are so high. The districts are really limited to how we can invest money, and it's not a bad thing. Because safety comes first. So if we can get good safe investments at 4 or 5%, as much as we can safely lock up, I'll grab those. As far as donations for December, the boys basketball team received an anonymous $100 donation. Bob Waldock donated 3 desks, nice desks, valued at $2,250, and we're going to use those. A student had their pay to participate in school fees paid for by an anonymous donor. Patrick and Marilyn DeVille donated to the Memorial Scholarship Fund $100. Joseph and Lisa Fisher donated to the 8th grade science program $2,000. And Battelle for the STEM class, 8th grade STEM class, $2,500 grant was awarded. So that brings for the month $7,130 in donations, and fiscal year to date $59,115. So it was another good month for donations. Item C on the agenda is, it took me 8 days to do the tax budget. Next year it'll probably take me 2 or 3. But there was some small millage mistakes on the amounts and rate sheet that were approved in March. So I worked with the county auditor to fix these. In board docs, I attached the corrected rates, but these need to be reapproved because that's the numbers I used for this year's tax budget. It just, when you're talking about tenths and hundredths of mils, they're small. It's small until you look at $400 million tax value. Plus, nothing will balance if it's off. So those were corrected. The auditor, within a couple hours, he had everything fixed and wrapped up, and it was nice working with him. Annually, item D, we will need to approve the micro purchase threshold that the board changed last year. So that's on this agenda, even though it hasn't been a full year. We'll just do it in January every year if we want to keep doing that. And the next item is just a disposal list of technology, some Chromebooks and some more Macs from St. Peter's. And those just need to be recorded because they were purchased close to us. And that's all I have.
This time, motion to approve items A through G on the treasurer recommendations consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. DeMarco?
Mrs. Mack?
Thank you for the reminder. Is there any?
I just want to note on the resolution to accept the amounts and rates determined, we have all 5 board members listed as present for this meeting, so we'll want to strike through Mrs. Henners, who is not actually here at the meeting, just to edit on that document before we sign.
Any questions or comments? Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I'm not in a hurry. I didn't need to hurry. You can stand with me.
I appreciate getting the financial stuff ahead of time because it takes me a while to work through it. So thank you for being here.
So,
Yeah.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mrs. Hart?
Yes.
And so now we move to item 8, superintendent recommendations consent agenda. Dr. Chapman.
So letter A is board policies. There was a first reading in December, and so this is the second reading and then action. The next is that OSBA resolution for recognition award for Mr. Jones. Certified staff, we have teacher extending her maternity leave, and then the teacher who's going to cover that teacher's assignment. And then the last is a home instructor when services are needed. For classified, we have an employee who's taking leave beyond the sick leave balance that she has, and so it's going to roll into unpaid leave for approval. And then supplemental, this is Matt Adams for boys basketball freshman, and so that's the one he picked up once the season started. That's it. Kind of a quick month.
I have a motion to approve, I'm sorry, the superintendent's consent items A through E.
So moved.
I will second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, questions?
I have a question. It was discussed, I believe, earlier this week that we do not have a contract, or it was not approved by the board or brought to the board for Mr. Lensick as far as a assistant swim coach. So how do we rectify that or get that done? Since he is acting as an assistant coach and in that capacity and in the care, and he has students with him, what do we need to do as far as getting that done?
Yeah, so let me
the remainder of the season.
right. So let me talk with Steve, and then you'll probably see it on the February agenda. And just He's been a board approved volunteer.
Right, in the
Yes.
in the past he had two.
Correct. Yeah.
But we don't have one in place specifically for swim, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Mrs. Hartley. Mrs. Mast.
Yes.
Dr. O'Day. Mr. Jones.
Yes. Okay, so item 10, board discussion and action on the board retreat topics.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
January 31st, Terry Morgan from OSB is going to come facilitate a board retreat similar to what we did, what was it, July. So she's asked me if there's topics from the board, and then now Mr. Jones and I, the president, will find a time to talk with her before the 31st, just to kind of map out what the agenda would look like for that night. So she's open if there's topics that it's really about board governance, leadership, those types of big ideas, not so much a specific issue or concern or something like that. Yeah. If you have any, share. Otherwise, John and I will talk with Terry about her thoughts, and then what we have pressing, and go from there.
Would it be okay if we didn't have one like specifically right at this moment?
Yeah.
Can we email either you or John?
Yeah,
To know what our thoughts are?
Yeah, that'd be fine, and you could email either of us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
You have that set up for 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Yes. Yeah. Do we want a meal with that? Yeah. Okay.
I'm happy to take care of that. I'm sorry?
Same place?
No, I'm
Oh.
not. I'm not gonna. I don't know that I will do.
Oh, okay, you haven't.
Do that. Macaroon. Just because I know it's not everyone's favorite. But we can do some of everything. We can do a little bit of both. But yeah, if it's okay, I'm happy to take care of that and just get stuff ordered.
I'm appreciative.
Yeah, I will.
That's it. She wants pizza.
Every time.
So I'll just reiterate, 6 o'clock on that Tuesday.
Yeah.
Is still okay with it. So, okay.
And we'll just send.
For some reason, I don't have my calendar.
We'll send ideas, suggestions, possibilities to both of you.
Either one.
Okay.
That's good.
Great.
Okay, anything else we need to discuss on that? Okay, and then the next is item B, the joint rec board. Dr. Chapman, do you have something in particular that you?
So I guess, yeah, my thought was, so it came before the board last month, and it was rejected, or it was voted down, and I think it was voted down with a promise of we need to talk about it. So, number one question is, we voted, I kind of already know the answer. We voted it down, so are we down and done, or we voted it down because we want to talk about it, work through it, so that we can get to something that all three entities of that can be happy with. Yeah. And so then also, okay, so I'm hearing that we want to talk about it because Huron City Schools wants to continue to be a member. Yeah. Okay.
Makes it easier, right?
Yeah. So then the next was at the December meeting. There was talk about, can all three entities, entire boards come together? So my hesitation with that is logistically it might be difficult, and then once we're all in the room, a functional conversation might again be difficult just because of the numbers of people that would be at that table. So I didn't know if that was what the board wanted, or if the board wanted to discuss another way to approach it of identifying two representatives from this board, and then we discuss here some ideas, and then they can go with like a representative from the other two entities and see what is possible and what is like a no-go, and then report back at the next month's meeting. And this may take a little bit of back and forth as far as a couple of months, but again, it might be in the long run more productive than trying to get. So I guess the floor is open for discussion.
Could I chime in? So I agree Dr. Chapman, that trying to get all 5 board members, yourself, city council, and the township together would be a logistical nightmare. I'm on board with, we can't have more than 2 representatives from the board, obviously. But to have 2 representatives from the board, if the city wants to pick a couple representatives and the township, I think it makes sense to have one of our representatives be Dr. LaFay, since she is the arts board and, you are the committee person. The other person I would like to just put out there, if they're interested and if it's okay with the board, is and if this person wants to do it, I feel like Mrs. Hartley wrote an incredibly well articulated email, I think expressing how I think most of us felt about what we want to see with this partnership. And I think in my opinion, she would be a wonderful representative for us as a board. So that's my 2 cents.
I appreciate that. I'll context because I didn't share it with all the board. I
gonna
sent
say
it
to
to
whom?
yeah, so you haven't seen it. So James and I had talked about some of the past conversations last year, some of the questions that were raised with the city, and we received emails, and Julie was kind enough, to go back and forth. And so a lot of the questions that kind of came up had been asked last year. So I offered to share that information with James. So I shared it with James and Paul over the weekend, and I just copied Jody on it so she was aware of it. So I just PDF those documents, but I just kind of summed, and it was just expressing again what we said, that it's not in opposition to certainly having it. In fact, I'd advocate for greater collaboration with the public entities. I think there's so many possibilities that could happen, and we serve the same citizens. There may be overlapping purposes and ways that we could serve the same constituents and maximize the tax dollars. So I'm all for that. I think in this case, with this one item, I think it's maybe a good idea to come back and visit. None of the people who are in charge of spending the money now, like none of us were around 20, 25 years ago when it was created, to understand kind of the why and what's the framework and who determines the terms of it. So I just thought it was an opportunity maybe for us to get together and just have that conversation and decide, where is everybody now? What works best, and what does this look like? Are we meeting the needs and serving the mission for each of the entities in this way? So that was mine, but I will forward it to the board members.
And so your willingness to be part of this.
Sure. Yeah.
So I guess our direction is to ask Dr. Chapman to set up meetings with these victims.
With due respect, then, are we going to that meeting to listen, or are we taking ideas there of how we can do things differently, and when are we going to talk about those?
And that was kind of I thought the initial was, it's all the bodies. I mean, I know the city at least once a year, if not twice a year, hosts like a joint work session of all of its commissions. It's a lot of people to pull together. Not everybody's able to make it, but at least it's set out there as this is an opportunity for everybody to kind of come together, and let's make sure we're all on the same page and we have the same foundational information and knowledge and kind of goals going forward. I kind of saw value to that because we've never done that before with these, and not everybody can make it, but my thought was, no, it's open to all the members. It's a public meeting. It's everybody, so that you get all the ideas and the information flowing. Personally, I too think that it would benefit from having a facilitator at the meeting who understood why we were coming together and to keep the conversation structured and productive.
So are we looking more initially at a fact-finding meeting to answer some of the things you said about how did this thing happen? How did it started? What's taking place? In other words, start, doesn't have to be every detail from the beginning, but why we are where we are, and then follow up with a meeting more of what your thoughts or our thoughts are, and how to continue or to see what the outcome of that is? I mean, this is new to me, so. Well, we're the ones that have asked for some further collaboration, as you know, work. So, what are we looking for?
I think one thing as I reflect on this whole topic is that the Joint Rec has been established for a long time, 2000 or long, since 2000 or even maybe later, and it's based on Ohio Revised Code language about public entities that want to form a Joint Rec. What I'm not sure about is, as ORC, Ohio Revised Code, gets updated, has the agreement reflected those updates? And so one of my thoughts is, and I'm not an attorney, is back when it was originally formed, I would assume it was aligned with ORC, Ohio Revised Code, but where is it now compared to where ORC is now? Because as changes happen with the law, has it been updated? So I don't know if it's Huron School District that would invest in like a legal review of that to compare, here's the most current ORC and here's the document, or if that would be through the Joint Rec that entity invests funds, but I don't think we have a voting thing anymore. So that was one thought I had. And then the other is, honestly, like what are we trying to gain out of? I know we want a mutually beneficial partnership, and we want to serve the students, the residents, the families of Huron. So, what are the desired changes that would achieve that and be accepted by the three different entities? I'm not sure.
Oh, I guess I thought what we were trying to achieve out of having a meeting or bringing all three entities of the Joint Rec together was to kind of have them understand where we're coming from, that these are monies that are earmarked for education, yet we are giving them to the Joint Rec department. And why are we doing this? And is it beneficial? Is it really needed? I think someone said it is a fact finding. Maybe it is. Maybe it's trying to understand each entity and where we're coming from, because I don't know that we've had that opportunity. We've been a contract or an agreement, but I don't know that even the questions from last year when we weren't sure we wanted to do that agreement, obviously those questions weren't answered last year. So I guess that's my thinking, is it's trying to understand where everybody's coming from and why we are doing what we're doing.
So I think if we want to do a meeting specific, just staying with the joint recreation topic, then we could just have two representatives from ours with administration, with financial. Likewise, from the township would have to be just one because there's only 3 members, but they could also have fiscal or administrator and the city to just come together and just have a conversation maybe and kind of start with that to get some information, to get a context, the background, and maybe some explore.
What do you mean exactly if we're just sticking with this? Did you have something larger in mind?
Yeah, just what I said. I think the opportunities for collaboration. I would love to see the bodies, anybody who has a taxing authority, which also would be libraries. So the township, the city, and the library and the school are all the taxing authorities. Quite frankly, my dream would be we're all working together to do like a 10-year long-term plan. The city's trying to invest in new city hall. They're looking for improvements in property. We're looking at facilities. The library has a facility that theirs is going to be rolling off. Let's just talk about our plans together. There could be some efficiencies recognized with facilities, services, and things like that. And it's one tax base that we have. So let's be prudent of the taxpayers and, you know, what investments we're asking them to make and what we're doing and what we're delivering.
So my take is, I think initially we stick to the hearing grant recreational system. The things that you are looking to get answered, I'm okay with those parts, quite frankly. So, it's like those fact finding. I see that as a good thing. But I think you have fewer people involved for everybody only because it's just like another meeting. But I like your idea. I think it's you and Beth, Dr. Devin, and Marcos, and that same kind of thing for the township and the city is great. Beginning, we just sit around the table hopefully and see where we're at.
Good start. I think it's a great start. You gotta start somewhere. You know, someone's gotta start the conversation. And,
It's up to us to start. Up to us. Just to start. We are the ones that stop them. So,
Just ask questions.
yeah, that's fine. So is that Dr. Batten? Is that something?
Yeah, that sounds good. I will work on that. Reach out to both entities tomorrow and see, start comparing calendars to get your as well.
Discussion on that topic? Okay, so now it's item C, new agenda item.
Yeah, that probably should say like any other additional
Oh,
items.
okay.
so new business?
Any new business. Yeah.
And is there anybody?
You know, I'll bring up something in new business. I spoke with Dr. Chapman and Dr. McDonald concerning not even concerning, but about an alumni student who contacted me. This student was a special needs student back, he graduated, I believe, in 2017. He contacted me because he would like to offer his services as a liaison, as an alumnus to our school system for students with special needs. Whether it's with Holly Sharville and her capacity or curriculum, or he'd like to be involved. And I thought it was pretty cool that he reached out. And so once he gets his college scheduled, he's going to contact me, and then we'll get him plugged in with Dr. Chapman and Dr. McDonald and see where it goes. Yeah.
I'll just ask John the thing that you and I had talked about before, and I think we mentioned it here, exploring the possibility of having student representation to the board. If we look at some policy maybe to do that and start putting together some steps of what that might look like. Perhaps maybe something could be in place spring-ish, if possible, for a student to start in the fall.
Yeah, that's my dream.
Sounds like a topic when Terry's here to ask her.
That is a great topic.
We actually have a OSBA policy on for docs under curriculum. I can't remember that what it says, how it's defined. The other thing that's still kind of lingering along those lines is we had asked, over a year ago now, at least, for a policy about naming rights. And I really think we need to go ahead and do that. It hasn't been brought up to me by anybody, but
Came up at the very end.
it's kind of lingering.
There was a full board.
And for a lot of reasons, obviously, it's not right over there.
And priorities. I mean, I guess is this what I'm hoping this is what we're gonna figure out in our work session, like our priorities list. You know, we've had so many big tasks and we've just kind of been putting out fires so far. And is that I guess I was assuming that's what the work session was for. We keep bringing up pay to play, and and now we're stepping into like getting in, moving forward with the stuff with the city, but we haven't talked about some of these things that I feel.
As far as I know, there is no executive session necessary. The next meeting, I guess officially is January 31st.
That's correct, yes.
So now that's considered a workshop. Do we want to state on there the regular meeting? The next regular meeting, or is that?
Yeah, so that would be February 21st.
Yes. So. Right, so, item 13, I need a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marco.
Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Dr. LeFay? Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you all.
Glad it worked out. Oh, yeah, you need these too.
Yeah.